Hey there everybody, it's BrawlFan1, and today I have for you some more Kirby hats with a side of Q&A. I did get quite a few questions, though I'm not going to be answering nearly as many as I did in my last Q&A. So if I didn't get to your question in this video, go ahead and hold on to it. Either that, or check out my last Q&A just in case your question might have been asked there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into this, starting with the first question asked by a couple of people, but the first person to ask it was one Ian Johns. How long do you see yourself making movesets for Smash? Quite a long time. I don't see myself stopping anywhere near the foreseeable future, and contrary to what a few people think is going to happen, not even when the Smash DLC concludes. Like, the whole reason I started this series was to make hypothetical fun what-ifs for characters that either aren't in Smash or are not going to be in Smash. So why would I stop after the Smash DLC concludes? That gives me all the more reason to keep going for characters that are for sure not going to be in Smash now. Next question, asked by one FlowKiller1 in all caps. What are some remixes that you would like to see for any of the characters that you've made what if videos for? There's quite a few. Like, I'd love to see some Yokai Watch remixes for sure. Like, I can only imagine the Shantae remixes would be great. Like, honestly, I would not mind seeing any good remixes of any of the music. Like there's really no one in particular one that I'm like desperate for. Like, but any of them I think would be awesome. Okay, next question that I have here asked by Michael Bean. Have you ever considered doing an occasional patron pick? I've technically done that once with the moveset for Linkle, because that was requested by Malik Perry. And the biggest reason, that was effectively a patron pick, because he was very generous with donations, so I felt like I wanted to do something nice for him back. And a lot of people agreed. A lot of like with how generous he was being, like a lot of people were saying that I should do something for him, and I agreed. So as for general patron picks, though, like making that like a regular thing, I thought about it here and there. I guess I'm a little hesitant because I don't want there to be an occasion where I get someone who is, like, very generous, but then requests for something that I either don't want to do or can't do. So I guess that's my only, like, real hesitance. Like, I was fine with doing it for Malik because we are well acquainted, and I saw what requests he was making even before that, and I knew it'd be fine. But just in general, like, I guess I'm a little hesitant because of that regard. Like, I don't want to be put on the spot for something that I don't think I'd be able to do. Okay, next question asked by a couple of people, but the first person to ask this was, and I apologize for butchering your name, Luis Miguel Holanda de Albuquerque Cruz. Again, I am so sorry. But their question is, when is the next assist trophy video? Short answer, I don't know. Because, believe it or not, thinking of what can be what qualifies it as an assist trophy more than a fighter is actually way more difficult. Because I see potential in so many characters, and it's only again, it's like I said in the video, in the assist trophy video, it's only when I feel like something important to the character needs to be taken away to make the moveset at all, when I feel like they are better as an assist trophy, and that occurrence honestly is so rare. It doesn't happen too often, so I'll be glad to make another assist trophy video if more characters pop up that I just feel like are better off as assist trophies. But it's not probably going to happen too often. And I guess I should also address this real quick, since I know a lot of people seem to like putting words in my mouth and confusing the subject. I said this in the assist trophy video, and I'll say it again. Me making a character an assist trophy does not mean that I don't think they can have a moveset. I'm going to keep trying to make them a moveset. It's gonna take it's just gonna take a lot more work is all. So me making an assist trophy character does not deconfirm them for a what if moveset. Okay, next question asked by Maximus Robinson, also in all caps. Is there a character that you really want to do but can't for some reason? Not really. Like, I put the arbitrary, I guess, like non-video game rules up just for the sake of challenging myself more so, but in reality it's like, if there's a character that at some point that I just really want to do, I can just do it. Like, nothing's really stopping me. So, but I for the time being, no, not really. Next question asked by Philip Napoli. Are there times and when you have to make a moveset for a certain character after a sequel that's come for that character's game or franchise is released? So, I think he's asking, is there ever a time where I feel obligated to make a moveset for a character, like right after a new game for that character comes out? And no, the answer is no. I do work strictly on the request quantity rule. Now, the interesting thing is though that generally when a new game for a character does come out, like, characters in that game will get a lot of requests, but those requests normally die off after a week or a month or so. It's the new trend. It's in people's minds, so they'll request it, but then they'll forget about it after a bit. It happens all the time. Next question asked by Laszlo Xenia. Would you still do a moveset from the demo, or maybe redo it after it's finished, or just wait until it's done? I'd rather wait till it's done. Because this is like a big thing for Deltarune, especially. Like, I don't want to do movesets for characters who don't have completed games out. Like, if they only have a demo, then I'm not gonna do it. Because obviously, with the demo, you don't have all the information. You don't have everything that you might need. And to me, making it just for the sake of making it while the demo's out, only to remake it when the final game comes out, is just a waste of time. I'd much rather spend that time working on characters that do have completed games. Okay, next question asked by a few people, but the first person to ask it was Passion the Panther. How often do you see yourself doing movesets for non-game characters, either as jokes or by popular demand? It really is once in a blue moon. Like, it's a really rare occurrence, but not necessarily because of a lack of interest. It's mostly actually because believe it or not, non-video game characters actually do not get as many requests as video game characters do. So, when a non-video game character does happen, they have to have really high demand. But on top of that, yeah, like, in general, I would rather prefer video game characters, and that's just a personal preference thing. But it really is just, short answer, sparse. It's very sparse. Like, I've done, up to this point, 81 videos, and only 2 non-video game characters have happened. So if that gives you an idea of how often I do these. Okay. Next question asked by Bubby56789. How long do the illustrations usually take for you to draw? And how much of the video making process would you say they eat up? It depends on the character. Like, it usually depends on how much innovation I need to do. Because usually when I have to do a lot of innovation. So what that means is, like, I make up the attack for the character that they themselves may not have ever actually done in any of their games, but I personally feel like they would do. So that's what innovation is. So when that happens, that usually requires me to draw. So the more innovation I need to do, the more drawing that needs to happen. So it really is just it really just depends. Next question asked by Laszlo, Kansas. What happens when it's too easy to make a moveset for a character? It just means that it didn't take that long to make the moveset. It's all. Like, it may only take me like less than an hour to make it. That's all. It just saves time, I guess. But that said, likewise, on the opposite side of that spectrum, this question was asked by a couple of people, but the first person to ask it was Super Andy, the YouTuber. Have you ever avoided making a moveset because it would be too difficult or too long to make? There that hasn't happened just yet. Like, generally, if there are movesets that are too difficult, I just keep working at them. Like, there has not been a moveset yet that I've given up on, because it was too difficult. That said, the assist trophy characters are kind of that is an interesting one, because yes, I made them assist trophies by technicality because I don't see much moveset potential in them right now. But like I said prior, that doesn't mean that I stopped trying to think of movesets for them. It's gonna take a lot for me to want to give up on a moveset overall. Okay, next question asked by a few people, but the first person was Mega Sans Max 3857. When making your movesets, do you actually play the games or just look at clips and gameplay footage? Both. I generally do both. Like, what I like to do, more often than not, what I'll do is I'll watch Let's Plays first of the game in question, so that way it gives me a general idea of how long the game takes, as well as to kind of help introduce me into the world. Plus, because generally, I try to stick to watching Let's Players who actually know what they're talking about in the games, so that way it'll make it a little easier for me to be introduced into their world. So that way, when I do get the game and play it myself, like, it'll be easier for me to adapt, like, to the setting that I need to try to, like, let myself become accustomed to build the moveset. Because when building these movesets, I feel like one of the most important things is to make the character feel like they actually came from their world. That's a pretty important aspect for me. So playing the games themselves to become immersed is very important, but I do also watch a lot of gameplay clips, like, to see if there's anything that I might be missing that I maybe didn't know from playing the game originally, if I wasn't already acquainted with it prior. But as such, yeah, answers both. Next question asked by Kate Catapple. Has there ever been a character that you just don't like for any reason to the point where you won't make a moveset for them? So, like, they're saying, like, the character is, like, arrogant or annoying or whatever. Hasn't happened yet. Like, there are characters that I just choose not to do because maybe not necessarily because I don't like the character, but I don't like their game. Like, I know, like, I think I mentioned this in the last Q&A. I'd rather not do characters from the game Catherine because I just don't like that game and I don't like its themes or anything like that. As for characters themselves, I imagine there probably are characters that exist that I just wouldn't want to do movesets for because I don't like the character act. But it'd have to be, like, for really major reasons. Like, if the character was, like, super bigoted, or, like, if the character was made by people that I just don't agree with in general. But it hasn't happened yet, I guess. Like, it hasn't happened yet. Like, there hasn't been any character as of yet that have gained a lot of requests that I just would not want to make a moveset for. Okay, next question asked by Snack Dubs. Are you done making addressing mistakes videos? Technically no. Like, making actual videos for them, I honestly don't see too much reason for me to keep doing that, if only because they don't seem to garner a lot of attention. Like, it doesn't seem that worth it for me to make the videos. I'd much rather just do the live streams, because I feel like I can cover a lot more in the live streams, and it allows me to actually converse with everybody to get their, views on it and everything and all the such, as well as hear your ideas. Like, 'cause I love hearing people's ideas for these movesets as well. But unfortunately, of course, like, I can't live stream at the moment because I'm currently living in a temporary apartment with really bad internet. Like, I can't even play online games and such. I hate it. I'm trying to see if I can make fixes for it, because I was supposed to be out of this apartment by December, but unfortunately, world issue problems have caused delays to my family's new house being built. So that's just kind of where the cards that I've been dealt at the moment. But we'll see what happens. Okay, next question by Raviolis. Have you ever decided to skip over a character that you think has a decent chance of actually getting in the game instead of just doing a moveset for them? Yes, actually, I've done that a couple of times. The first time I ever did that was for the hero, the Dragon Quest character, because at the time, before that character was announced, there was a data mine that listed it as a hint, and technically this data mine could have alluded to anything, but I was in the camp that really thought it was going to be a Dragon Quest character, so that's why I chose to avoid doing it, and sure enough, it actually ended up getting in. And the other example of that is actually the ARMS character, Min Min, because when Smash announced that the next DLC character at the time would be an ARMS character, I got a lot of people requesting for me to make movesets for ARMS characters, specifically because of that, and the reasoning was, you should make this moveset before that moveset comes out. And to me, that I don't like that logic. I'd much rather not touch it at all and just wait for the character to come out, because it's not going to be hypothetical anymore if it's actually going to happen. And I prefer to generally strictly stay hypothetical. So the only instances where characters that I've covered have ended up in the game were if the character that I covered happened long before they actually got in the game. And they were characters that I didn't actually think would get in originally. Either that or it's just, again, it's two things. It's either the character probably won't be in or just aren't in at the moment. That's the general scape of of the characters that I want to make the movesets for. Okay, next question asked by Flower Hyrule. How much knowledge did you have about FNAF when making Freddy and Springtrap? Minimal for the most part. Like when I first started making them, I did do my fair amount of research to actually be able to make the movesets. Though I do have a sneaking suspicion as to why you're probably asking this. Do I know all about the lore and every little detail about FNAF? No, I don't. Honestly, I could care less about it. I don't really care for FNAF that much myself on a personal level, and it doesn't help that the story and the lore of the game does seem to get changed and retconned quite often. It made me lose interest. But when making movesets for the characters, that doesn't mean that I won't look at every single aspect for that character specifically to make sure that I make a moveset that I feel fits the character. Again, people can disagree on me whether or not they think my movesets actually fit to the characters. That's all wholly an opinion thing. But for the most part, specifically for FNAF, like I knew very little about it before making the movesets. I have a general understanding about both Freddy and Springtrap, and I'm sure that I will learn more when and if there comes a time for me to make more FNAF moveset characters. I'll be sure to do my best to learn more about those characters. Now, at the same time, like, I guess I should say, because of all the retconning and such, or whatever's happening with that lore, like, I apologize for any mistakes that I might make. Like, I know a big one for people is apparently the Bite of 83 or the Bite of 87. So my apologies for getting those mixed up, but that doesn't necessarily change the aspect of the reason of why I made it regardless. So, next question asked by Green Star Galaxian. If a different form of a character that already got a moveset gets enough requests, would you consider making that version of the character? So he's asking pretty much like, for example, I did a moveset for Kid Goku, but if enough requests were made, would I do Adult Goku? Or like, if I just did Ori, but if enough people ask for specifically Ori and Scene, would I do that? Honestly, I'd rather not. Like, I already gave my aspect to the character, and I'd rather not, for the sake of doing something different, do it again, but with a different aspect. Because I made the movesets based on my personal judgment, which is pretty much how all my movesets are made. Kid Goku is kind of an interesting case, though, because I made the joke about Goku being too powerful and whatever. If I'm perfectly honest, I don't actually care about that aspect. Really, what it is just I just like Kid Goku more. I love Dragon Ball way more than Dragon Ball Z, which is why I chose Kid Goku. It really was just a personal reason on that front. But yeah, as for like Ori Insane, or even like Ink Bendy, I guess that really is just a dependent aspect. Like, because I know like one example I can think of was like when Brian and I made the Spyro movesets, we stuck strictly to the original Spyro. But if people request for, like, say, Legend Spyro or Skylander Spyro, that technically is a different Spyro, so we'd be more than willing to do that. But I guess that one really is just a case-by-case basis. Okay, next question, asked by Super Sam 40121. What would you do if you have all your movesets planned out, but can't figure out one or two things? So, like, for example, if you can't think of an up throw or a side smash, I innovate. That's as simple as that. Like, I dig as far as I can go into every game to try to find as many aspects of every character as possible. And if I reach a point where I can't find anything else, I'll simply innovate. I'll use my knowledge of what I know about the character's personality, their games, their lore, and whatever, and use that knowledge to create brand new attacks that they may not have never used in their own games, but what I feel like is fitting for the character for them to use. Okay, next one asked by That Chill Asian. How good do you think you are at balancing these characters? Honestly, about as good as I think I could be. Because a big thing about trying... Because unfortunately, I do have the disadvantage of not being able to actually test these out. I can only go based on word of mouth and based on just how I envision it. But the thing about balancing characters in general is that regardless of how strong you think a character is, they can always be nerfed. And you don't necessarily need to change any of the attacks or any of the aspects to do that. All you need to do is adjust maybe a few frame data frames, maybe make an attack a slightly slower, slightly faster, maybe adjust its range. You can adjust any of these movesets to make them perfectly balanced, but that is a very difficult thing to do, regardless of whether or not, of them being hypothetical or not. Like, tier lists exist for a reason. It's because there are just some characters that unfortunately need buffs or need nerfs, and there's no real good accurate way to really figure that, like, to really adjust it perfectly, I guess is the way to look at it. So overall, it's like, I'd like to think that they're balanced, or that they could be balanced properly, but there's no real way of knowing until there's actually a proper way to test them. So take that with a grain of salt. Okay, we only got a few more here. Next question, asked by Izum Rudd. Do you hate Melee? No, I love Melee, actually. I love every single Smash game. Because the way I see it, every single Smash game before the next one came out was a game that I loved to play. It gave me so many hours of nothing but enjoyment. Like, every single Smash game has their strengths and weaknesses, but that doesn't make me love each and every one of them any less, because each and every one of them it's so important to overall who I am now, actually. So I love each one, like, as much as I did back when I played it. Now, I will generally stick to the newest one when it comes out, because I just like the new features and all the new characters myself, but that doesn't mean that I love the old ones any less. But I am going to take a guess as to why you asked me this specifically about Melee, because of all the Melee jabs that I make. Now, technically, I'm not making jabs at Melee, I'm making jabs at the Melee players, specifically the ones that don't shower. Because, story time, I've been to 9 Smash tournaments in my life. 3 of them were Melee. Out of all 9 of those Smash tournaments, guess which 3 smelt like absolute terrible BO? The Melee tournaments, if you couldn't guess that correctly. I don't know. Like, oh my god, that's like... I'm not, like, the stereotype, like, it's so sad, because people just think of it as a stereotype, but I lived it. You can't sit there and tell me that you've been to 9 Smash tournaments, all spanning different Smash games, and the only 3 Melee tournaments that I've been to, all were the only ones that also smelt like garbage? Come on, like, the stereotype wouldn't exist if there weren't a merit of truth to it, like, That's just what I'm poking fun at. Like, just shower, practice good hygiene, you know, then maybe people will stop making the jokes. All right, anyway, next question, asked by Mega Sans Max 3857. How do you decide if one of your friends should cover a moveset? It really is based on how much that friend of mine loves the character in question. Because, like, for Brian, he did Klonoa, Spyro, Rayman, and Amaterasu. He loves all 4 of those games. Those are, like, some of his favorite games of all time. And it just so happened that with all 4 of those characters, I didn't really have any attachment to them. I didn't play any of their games before that. So that's what determined that. Generally, when it comes to a moveset that we decide ahead of time that one of my friends will cover it, we build the moveset together. So that way I can learn about the character while also researching their games while my friend works on it as well. So that way we can try to come to a conclusion that we both like and best fits that character. Like, so Brian loves those characters, Danny loves Knights. Like Knights was Danny's like absolute childhood. She adores Knights. And then just recently with Master Chief, my friend Ryan, he loves Halo. He is a massive Halo fanatic. Like, actually, fun fact, back in the day, like what was it now? Like almost almost 12 years ago. Like, before I met Ryan, he used to work on these sprite animations that revolved around Halo. So, but yeah, so it really is just a matter of how much my friends love the characters in question. Okay, next asked by Evil Tables, what, if any, franchises did you discover and get into because of Smash? Oh, a good chunk of them. Like, Fire Emblem was a big one, and I'm fairly certain that was a big one for most people. Earthbound, honestly, so many. Like, I think I could probably name less series that I actually got into because of Smash. Like, I still don't really care for F-Zero. I don't really care for Metroid. Still not the biggest Castlevania fan. But yeah, like, a lot. Okay, next question asked by a couple of people, but the first person to ask it was Shub Patel. Have you played other fighting games, and if yes, then which one, and which one do you still play? Honestly, I don't play too many fighting games. Smash is really the only fighting game, quote-unquote, that I play. Because the traditional fighting game, I'm not good at. I am not great at, like, chaining combos. Like, I'm just not that great at fighting games, honestly. It's like, I don't really play a whole lot. Like, I played Dragon Ball FighterZ when that came out, but I really only played its story mode. I didn't really get into the online scene at all. I did play a little bit of PlayStation All-Stars when that came out, but not that often, because I had very few chances to play it, and that was a long time ago. So, aside from that, no, I don't really play fighting games. Smash is really kind of the only one. Okay, next question, also asked by two people, but the first person to ask it was Rye. Do you count completely near visual novels with no gameplay as video games? If the visual novel itself is a video game, then yes. Like, if it's on PC or if it's on a console, like, I think that does still count as a video game. I guess I guess here's the thing too. It's like, if there's no gameplay, there might be less to work with. So, like, to make a moveset. So, I guess that one's also kind of pretty dependent. We'll see. Okay, and the final question that I have for today, asked by the actual Funny Lord. Seeing as Deltarune Chapter 2 is going to be much different than Deltarune Chapter 1, if the characters that do appear in the first chapter don't appear in Chapter 2 or have any other matter in the chapter, then does that mean you can make movesets and do videos about them because they don't matter in the later bits of Deltarune? This entire question is based on assumption. Like, we know very little about Chapter 2 of Deltarune, and just because a character may not appear in Chapter 2, that doesn't mean that they won't possibly appear in a future chapter. Now, that said, there is a real possibility that some characters in Chapter 1 may not appear for the rest of the game, but we don't know that. And the fact that we don't know that at all is the reason why I'm choosing not to touch Deltarune at all until the entire game is complete. So that's just where I stand. That's just where I stand on this. Like we can make all the guesses or assumptions that we want, but the fact is we don't know for sure. And until we know for sure, I'm not going to touch it. And I guess I should also mention this now, I guess while we're on the topic. Obviously, once Deltarune is finished, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to go into hiding. I'm going to have to, like, find a bunker or something to go hiding in. Like, so that way I can just play the game nonstop without looking at the internet at all, so I don't get spoiled about anything. But even then, even when Deltarune comes out, because I'm sure that every single character in that game is going to get like 1 million requests, but I probably still won't make any Deltarune movesets even after the game comes out for at least a couple of months. And the main reason for that is to respect the wishes of Toby Fox, the creator of Undertale and Deltarune, because Toby Fox generally makes a pretty big deal about not wanting his game being spoiled. Like, he would much rather people play the games themselves experience it themselves, then watch other people play the games, or then like he likes a grace period, effectively, of times where the game was just completely absent on the internet. I know it's gonna be impossible because people just don't care about his wishes, but I do. I want to respect Toby Fox's wishes, and there is a very, very high chance that any moveset I make about Deltarune characters are going to be riddled with spoilers. So, when Deltarune does finally come out, please do not expect any Deltarune movesets immediately. I do want to give the game a grace period. I want to respect Toby Fox's wishes, and that's really all I have to say on the matter. But that will do it for this Q&A, as well as all the Kirby hats that you have seen me make during this video. Flowey Kirby, Asriel Kirby, and the ever-lovable role, Bread Kirby. I hope I was able to answer some of your questions, though I apologize if I didn't get to your question in this video. Again, please hold on to it for another time. I more than likely will do another one of these in the future. So I hope you enjoyed my ramblings and all the Kirby. Please subscribe if you want to see more from me, and I will see you guys next time. Take care!